Hey, Ro. Gonna unmute.
1 second.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yeah, because the mirror was showing that light over my head. Uh-oh, the dog's here.
Gotta get things right. Takes me a few minutes to do that. Yeah, I was just on the phone, Mona, and she's gotta get on and I just talked to Ronnie and she sent me the link, so you should see a couple of robotos on here tonight. Well, you won't see Mona because she does YouTube.
She does YouTube. It's easier to
Yeah,
see, I guess, sometimes.
No, she doesn't want to do the Zoom because she feels there's problems with it, so she just listens and everything. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm so glad I could see you like this. Man,
yeah, I know.
Lousy, you know.
Over here.
I keep thinking about your daughters. How are they doing?
Good. Nicole's in Virginia,
Right.
and Jennifer's in Eureka, California. But they're both doing well.
Jennifer's still in California or someplace else? Yeah.
California. Yeah. Trying to get her to move to the East Coast, but she likes her job.
Yeah.
How's everybody there? Can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear. Answer you. You can hear.
Geez, where is everybody?
They're coming. Last minute.
Oh,
What room are you in right now?
Dining room. I moved over. I was on this side of the table, and I realized I was on early enough to look that the light overhead reflects in the mirror,
Yeah.
and it makes it
Right.
bright
Right.
for the Zoom. So I said, let me try the other end of the table. Well, this ain't too bad. And there's a Roboto. Johnny's on.
Oh, he showed up.
Yeah, he likes the topic. Hey, John.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Okay.
Good
You
stuff.
like this topic, John?
Yeah. It just happens we're just going through this a lot. It seems on Moses. Everything that we've been doing.
Oh, okay.
It just and then not only that, we're reading in Exodus, so that's even more.
Right.
Yeah. So when Lydia said that you guys were doing this, I says, "Well, yep, I'm gonna get." She gave me the link, and then I came and got on. How you doing, Ro?
Good, John.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Hey, Phil.
Lisa's trying to get me to get that shot,
Yeah, well, you should go get it. If I can get it, I'm gonna get it. I guess whenever I can get it.
It's just a matter of setting it up. It's hard. It's a little difficult,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I already got him.
You get yours?
You got it?
Yeah.
How'd it feel?
Shot. It's all like a flu shot.
Well,
No,
the flu shots never really bothered me much.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They had both of them.
Yeah.
Where we live here, they had it set up at where we live, so it was easy to get it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I was gonna get it, and what happened was I had just gotten the shingles shot, and I could have gotten to get the flu shot. But what happened was too close to the shingles shot. You're supposed to wait a month.
Right.
So I let it go, So So I got the shingle shot because my family, we do bad with the shingles, you know? I
Yeah.
think everyone in my family has gotten it, you know?
Has gotten it.
Yeah, so I figured I better get it, you know?
Yeah, one of the friends I had in California, he got it pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it could be really bad, you know? He said it
Oh
was
yeah,
already,
there's nothing they can do about
yeah. Hey,
Hi,
Bria,
Connie.
how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
it.
Hi,
Good to
Phil.
see you. Yeah. It's
Mike.
good to see you guys.
Linda's on.
Hey, Linda.
I see Margie's hand, but I don't see her
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's Marge.
I want to be on it. I know.
We're all here today.
Yeah, there you go.
You're gonna hit your verse today, Marge.
Okay.
If you're ready.
Hello there, fellow believers.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan, wherever you are, I'll find you.
Yeah. Hey, guess who I was talking to yesterday? Norm Thompson.
Really?
How is he?
Yeah, he's getting back in the saddle.
Good.
Lord Thompson. Oh.
Yeah, actually, I think he's coming out to visit Jerry's grave in the springtime, and he's got to make. Not that he's planning on checking out, but he's got to make arrangements for himself too, so his kids don't have to be bothered. So he says he's coming out for that. But it's good talking to him. He's doing okay. I told him to jump on Bible class. Maybe next week he might jump on with us.
All right. Give it another minute or so, we'll start.
You're just gonna listen, right?
Hey, Mark.
I'm by my daughter.
Uh-huh.
It was Esther's birthday.
Mhm.
Hey, John.
Hey, how you doing, Mark?
All right.
We're gonna start.
There's Mark.
On the ball.
Hey, Ray.
Hi, Mark.
All right, Mark, since you came in, why don't you open with a prayer? Hear me? Mark, open with a prayer.
What?
Oh, do the opening prayer.
All right. All right. Our Father, again, we approach you to offer you thanks for this time of study and to look into the life of Moses. And we pray the things you do and say may help us and strengthen us, give us enlightenment to strengthen our faith in you and all the things that you do. Hear our prayer. We offer it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, so we're gonna pick up in just before we get to the ninth plague. Just wanted to point out something. In last week's Exodus 10, we're gonna be in Exodus 10 anyway, and verse 17. And this is Pharaoh. And this is what he says to Moses. Now, therefore, forgive, I pray thee, my sin only this once, and entreat the Lord your God that he may take away from me this death only. And he just went through with the locust, and the locust is gone. And to him, it felt like death. Well, now he's going to really get the taste of what death is about, because we're going into the the plague of darkness. And this is associated with the sun god, Ra. Amun-Ra would be that's their top god. He's the god of their gods and goddesses. He was the ultimate power except for Pharaoh. Pharaoh was the god on earth. In fact, Pharaoh was considered the son of Ra later, that he was a manifestation from this god. So God was going to show him how much the sun god had power. And so we go into 10:21. Let's see, we can go to all right, well, I can read the first. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand toward the heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And I guess a lot of people talked about, this before. And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. I think most of us have felt that kind of darkness at one time or another in our lives. Haven't you ever felt you've been like, if you go in your closet, if you haven't, go in your closet, close the door, and you'll feel that type of darkness that they had. Some people think maybe it was the clouds were so low that you could feel it. You could feel it too. But what do you think it meant to them? Why would he? He's challenging their God because they figured that they'd be praying to their Ra God that, hey, we need the sunshine. It's like when you're in a deep fog, you wait for the sun to burn it off. And but what do you think it meant to the Egyptians? And what do you think it meant if you were in this type of, when you're in it? I mean, usually it doesn't make a lot of thought for ourselves, I think, because we're not in it that long. I mean, you could be in it a full night if you slept in a completely dark room, which I have done that. I mean, you can't see when they say darkness, when you can't see your hand in front of your face, that complete darkness. So what do you think it meant, though? It had to have a meaning to them besides just being in darkness.
I wonder why the 3 days. Is there a significance in the 3 days?
Well, yeah, I would think so. 3 days typified Christ, but Christ was, he was unconscious. He was in a death state, so he really didn't. The time wasn't there. The one that would really be affected in 3 days would be Jonah, because he could feel it. He was inside that fish, and there was complete darkness, and yet he couldn't light a match. You know what I mean? There was no light. So that type of, is it, if there is a significance, what do you think the significance is? 3 days.
Yeah, for treats like Jesus.
Yeah, 3 days. And what state was he in?
Well, there's no thicker darkness than being in the grave, I think.
Yeah.
Egypt is a symbol of darkness itself, symbol of sin, symbol of darkness.
Okay.
3 is a number that indicates some degree of completeness, not perfection like 7, but some degree of completion.
What
were you going to say, Phil?
At Psalm 105, it says, he sent darkness and he made it dark, So this was, something that they couldn't get, never seen before. And it was showing how much control God had over everything, including their worthless gods. They were worth nothing. So the 3 days certainly looks forward to Jesus and being in the grave and coming out. But this is something they couldn't fathom. They never had seen it dark before. He brought darkness upon them and made it dark.
Okay, and what does darkness symbolize besides sin?
Death.
Okay, what else? The absence of light is darkness. And what's that mean? Absence of light. Who's light?
Absence of knowledge.
Absence of God. Without God, there's no light. That's what they were going to feel. Wanted to show them, hey, you think you have a God that can control the sun? Without God, there's no light, and that's death. It gave him a taste of it. When we read that, I read that 10:17. It says, "Take away this death from me," and that was only in dealing with the locusts. Now God's going to show them what death is really like. The other thing, this was sprung on them. There's like nothing. They're not prepared for it. I mean, they had no torches or anything. You know what I'm saying? So like they were just caught off guard. All at once, we don't know how God instituted it, whether they just came in or it went right from a dark night and never got the sun. That they the Egyptians didn't have light, yet the Israelites had light in their dwellings. So if they had lighted dwellings, that means Moses had to warn them or tell them this was coming. Because otherwise, how would they prepare for 3 days of it? I mean, even if you had an oil lamp, you wouldn't have it burn for 3 whole days. You'd be out of oil.
So Nick?
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing is that we talked about Israel enduring the first 3 plagues. They didn't endure this one. Now here's the miracle. How did the darkness stop at the border of Goshen?
Or did it?
I think it did.
But then why would they dwelling in their houses with light then?
Where are you reading that?
Okay.
You
Go
reading
down.
you reading about the Egyptians or the Israelites?
Israelites.
Verse 23.
Yeah. They saw not one another, neither rose from the place for 3 days, but the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. In their dwellings. It doesn't say. I used to think like that too. One time he could do that. He could take and stop the light wherever he wanted. But if he did that, the Egyptians would see it. When you're in total darkness, if you ever when I was a kid, we used to play in the woods at night. And you went out there in the dark, and if you sat there half an hour, your eyes would adjust and you could see. And it's because either was stars out or the moon out, or even any street lights in the distance would create a little bit of light and your eyes would adjust to it. But if you're in total darkness, like in a dark closet, there's nothing to adjust to. There's nothing. So I don't believe there was light in their dwelling place, because God could stop it naturally. But when it tells me they were in their dwellings, that means it was dark everywhere, but they had to be told by Moses to be prepared for this. It just didn't, because like when you read it, it sounds like he went outside and the Lord said to Moses, stretch out thy hand. So there's we're not given every little detail that God had probably told Moses, this is the next one. We're given the detail how he did it by raising his hand up.
So you're saying that the Egyptians did not have light in their dwellings?
Yeah, it says that. They did not even get up from the place they were. Wherever they laid down, that's where they stood. They couldn't see.
Yeah.
How could you see?
I don't think the lights worked for them. I don't think if they had candles or if they had torches, they would not work for them. They just wouldn't light up. I think they probably had those things, but they just weren't going to work for them,
Right.
That dark, it was so dark that even the light was swallowed up. That's
I
how
have
dark.
something to say.
Yeah, bro.
Mona just said something to me. Duncan Heister suggested that it could be a sandstorm, which sandstorm, you wouldn't be able to see a thing. But like again, it's how's it from them it was bad, and then the Israelites it wasn't. So I don't know how that worked.
Well, God can control that.
Yeah.
We don't know the exact thing, but we all experience darkness. I think all of us. Ever driving a car and lose your headlights on a road? That's extreme darkness when you are shaking in your shoes before you can stop that car, but you can't see a thing. especially when you have your high beams on and there's no lights out there. That's that type of darkness. It brings fear. That's the other thing it brings. That's why they didn't move from their places. You can't, you would go along. You know what? If there was someone blind though, they could probably function. Didn't even think of that, you know, the person that'd be blind, wouldn't matter if it was light or not, they can get around in that room they were in. They would be one of the only ones.
It was so dark they couldn't find the matches.
Yeah, if they had matches,
I don't think those any lights would work for them. I don't think it was possible to light up anything in their dwellings, even if they had it. I think even that was a sin.
don't you think if you were in your house and it went completely dark and you didn't know where, you knew where your flashlight was, but you couldn't see how to get to that room? I mean, you could probably crawl there, but you have a light, a flashlight, which would work instantly. Except like in the horror movies where it always goes out, you know. So that could, you know, be possible. But it was to teach him a lesson. 3 days of that. You know, you might sleep for so many hours, and that might not bother you then. But I mean, wake up and you're wide awake, and you can't do anything, especially 3 days.
Like a black hole. They
Yeah.
say the light can't escape from it. It's so much gravity, you know.
So what else does it do to you? Does it do something else to you? Go ahead, Liz.
You get disoriented.
You're disoriented. It starts working on you psychologically.
Hmm.
That's what it does. You have no bearings. I mean, none. I mean, I was in a boat one time and we saw a fog bank coming towards us, and I looked where the land was. When that thing hit us, I didn't know where land was, and that was just fog.
You lose
I had
your
no way of, you know, because you think the boat's going to be it's facing this way. You have nowhere to judge off of. So psychologically, they had to work on their heads on top of it. So
blindness.
yeah, it was to teach them a lesson, and it's in 3 days of it, it'd be pretty rough. All right. Meant with no light, there's no God. Okay. Let's look at, and they come out of that. Let's go to chapter 11. Exodus 11. Now, this is a short, you know, it's a short, this is a short one as far as verses. There's only like 10 verses in here. And he's telling, you know, he tells Moses, this is it. This is the one I'm going to do final. He said final, but he's not done with him. This is a final. Let's see. Go ahead, Phil.
You know, like, just I want to mention that they must have really panicked with that darkness, right? Because you could just see the current events this past week in Texas with 3 days of no power and no water. You know, they're all in a panic, you know, and you know, get very discouraged easily. I've been talking to people. Just the darkness, symbolic of death, and that their sun god, their best god, couldn't do nothing. They must have been really in a panic. Now, God is going to really show them what death is, you know, and what being in darkness is with the 10th plague here.
All right. So now he's going to the next plague. And this is against who? Against Pharaoh. Pharaoh was, you know, the people considered him a god. He was the living God amongst them. So they reverence to him. And it was going to show what power Pharaoh had, which was none. It looked like, you know, when we first started with this, he showed how strong it was. I'm going to make their burdens even harder. Now they're not, that voice is gone. He's the one that's He's the one that keeps calling Moses over and saying, stop it, stop it, stop it, and yet he's supposed to be the God. Hey, Mike Elwood, would you want to read?
Okay, what do you want?
Let's read that. It's only 10 verses, 11, chapter Exodus.
Okay. And the Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. Afterward, he'll let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will surely drive you out of here altogether. Speak now in the hearing of the people, and let every man ask from his neighbor and every woman from her neighbor articles of silver and articles of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. Then Moses said, Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the female servant who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the animals. Then there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as was not like it before, nor shall it be like it again. But against none of the children of Israel shall a dog move its tongue against man or beast, that you may know that the Lord does make a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. In all these, your servants shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, Get out, and all the people who follow you. After that, I will go out. Then he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. But the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not heed, so that my wonders may multiply in the land of Egypt. So Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the children of Israel go out of his land.
Okay, so he actually, what he did is he gave him an outline of what was going to happen. And he's been going along with this as it is, and this is probably how Moses prepared the people for the darkness, knew that was going to happen for what length of time, that it didn't have an effect on them. But one of the things that occurred here, if you look in verse 3, and it says, and the Lord gave people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. Remember, they were worshiping Pharaoh. And what did Pharaoh do? He couldn't stop anything. But Moses, time and time again, was doing one plague after the other. And God had told him, he says, I will make you a god, Pharaoh. And do we get that? We have that. There's a verse that he does say to Moses. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Chapter 3.
Well, that's good. You could read that one. That's when he told him he was going to be that. Chapter 3. I will make Ed. Bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure where now.
Oh, okay.
It does say that he's going to give his people favor, 3:21. I'm going to give people favor in the sight of Egypt. That when you go, you're not going to go empty.
Yeah, he was given that whole plan. God gave him the whole plan, the outline of the plan, and it's slowly happening. The one thing we haven't heard through all these plagues and everything, we said it probably was a short time, but we don't hear anything about the children of Israel complaining about anything. We don't hear, they're probably not doing their jobs because what Egypt's going through. And they're not complaining to Moses about anything because they're not they have to do this work that they have. And they're not going to complain about him now when they're seeing all these wonders.
Hey, Nick,
Yes.
something just occurred to me. In the last verse of chapter 10,
Mhm.
Moses says he wouldn't see Pharaoh's face anymore. Yet in chapter 11, he goes out with him in great anger in verse 8. So it seems like from the end of chapter 10, he's still in front of Pharaoh, and God gives Moses this vision, and well, maybe almost immediately, to tell him about what he's going to do next, and then he goes out from Pharaoh.
Okay.
So it seems like he's still in Pharaoh's presence during this.
Yeah.
No, it's
Mhm.
just a short, maybe a short vision he gets from God to tell the people to spoil the Egyptians, and about the firstborn. And I guess he goes out from Pharaoh in great anger because he realizes the great toll that's going to happen to the Egyptians, well, their firstborn, and he's angry at Pharaoh because he wouldn't give in, and now all these people are going to die. It sounds like it's like pretty almost right away this is happening.
Right.
Just
It's
Yeah.
quite possible.
Right, but Dan, do you think that's the case? Because it doesn't say go tell Pharaoh, right? Doesn't say that.
No, he didn't say anything to Pharaoh.
Right. So it seems like Moses is talking to the rest of the Egyptians because he was great in the sight of the Egyptians at this time. So is he now speaking just to the Egyptians? This is what's going to happen to Pharaoh. You're a great leader.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out something here, because it seems like this 10th plague wasn't spoken to the Egyptians, it was just spoken to Israel.
Yeah, right. That's why
Right.
Moses didn't mention it to Pharaoh. He got the vision, let's say he was there, and he went out in anger against Pharaoh because Pharaoh wouldn't give in, realizing what's going to happen. But yeah, I think they weren't privy to it.
But that's it. I think this is a highlight that's spoken of here. I mean, we get the details as we go down on it. It hasn't occurred yet.
Right.
It hasn't occurred. This is mostly for Moses to know.
Moses is made aware of it.
Yeah.
Right. This is not, happening at the moment.
Right.
And a lot of the things were passed on to Moses that way, so he was prepared for it. What was going to happen? Go ahead, John.
Reading further on, though, I read further on, and it seems that this is not spoken to the Egyptians at all.
Well, not the plague wasn't, right.
That plague, the 10th plague, wasn't spoken to them. It was just spoken to the Israelites so that they can get ready and put the blood on their doorposts. And it wasn't spoken, I don't think, to the Egyptians. Unless I didn't catch the whole thing, but maybe it's there. I'll read it again. Maybe it's there, but I didn't see it there, unless
we can move on. It will come up. It will come up. I think it's just a highlight of it.
Yeah. Unless some of the Israelites told the Egyptians, hey, if you want to save your firstborn, you're going to put the blood on the thing. But it doesn't seem like this was spoken to the Egyptians by Moses. Right. He was just told, Aaron and Moses just told the Israelites what to do.
I believe I bet some of you can't prove it, but that when they leave, we'll hit that part later, that, it wasn't only the Israelites that left.
Right.
Right. So but, I was looking at, let's see. And the Lord gave, this is verse 3, and the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of in the sight of the Egyptians. So there must have been enough Egyptians around to catch what's going on. I think the Egyptians were taking notice to this.
Well, yeah,
but he gave them favor in the sense of they gave their wealth freely to them.
Yeah, they spoiled them.
Silver and the gold, they spoiled them.
Yeah, that happens later. But they already had a run-in before. That remember when they were they had a choice to go indoors before the hail came, and that some of the Egyptians says if you heed God's word, it won't happen to you. Right. So now they're getting another. It's not said to them though. That's the only thing. It's not said to them. So you wonder if they just. You wonder if I was an Egyptian and I heeded the first warning and I see the Israelites doing something like this, I would definitely try to find out what's going on.
Right.
You would try to either get in their house and, because we're going to read what, we know what the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, what it's for.
Yeah.
All right. So just to show you that even with all these things that have happened, none of them had an effect. Although I think we talked about it before with, I think Mona brought it up about, he was hardening his heart. It wasn't going to let him get, it wasn't going to affect him. It affected him when it was going on, but as soon as it stopped, he goes, nah, I ain't doing anything about it. I'm not going to do anything.
What does it mean in verse 7, not a dog move his tongue?
Well,
Anybody got a different translation?
I can't pull it up on this. Well, not even a dog. The dog was considered, when you read in the Bible, the dog's not highly esteemed like we do in the United States. Our dogs
They're treated like dogs.
yeah, it was. And so if a dog was, they were losing the firstborn of all the animals. Here, not even the dog was bothered by what was going on. It's the only thing I could think of.
Okay, so the dog moves his tongue. He's panting. He's thirsty. He's in need of something, and even the dog is not even going to be affected. Okay.
Right. That's the only thing I could think of right at the top of my head. So go on to 12 then, because now we get into the last of the plagues, and it's institution of the Passover. And it's a lot of interesting things in this when you read it, because, again, we know the Passover, we know what they did and so forth, all the highlights of it. But when you start reading it and let me look at it closer, I began to find like different things pointed out to me. You look down in verse 3. I should read it. And the Lord spake unto, I'll go to 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you a beginning of months, and it shall be the first month of the year. So now God's changing the calendar to them. And he says to him, in the 10th day of the month, they shall take away every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. Okay, so it mentions a particular day, the 10th. And then you get down to, where is it? The 6th verse, and it says, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. The whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So it's a reflection of they're keeping this lamb for 3 days, 3 nights, and then on the 4th day, they're going to kill it. Symbolism, a little bit of Christ. Christ was in the grave 3 days. Here, they were alive 3 days, and then he was killed. The animal was killed. Am I looking at this wrong or something, or is that a reference to Christ in some way? Because we know the animal, the lamb, is a reference to Christ, but it's 3 days that they keep it, and then on the 4th day is when they sacrifice it.
Well, Jesus shows up in the 4,000th year.
Jesus showed up the 4th day. That was the thing that was different. He was there alive.
I mean, his appearances, his first appearance on earth, he's born in the 4,000th year of which is basically the fourth day of the creation.
Okay. Anyone else on it? You think anything on it, Mark? So you're thinking over there. Think it has any significance with Christ on it? The lamb does, and it's speaking of these days. So that, by the 14th. That's the only thought I had on it.
Wasn't this the
Go ahead. What?
wasn't it the month of Abib?
Yeah.
Abib. Right.
ABIB.
And what are you asking? What are the 3 days?
Well, it was from the 10th. They had to keep the animal 3 days with them. And on the fourth day, they had to sacrifice it. There has to be a
Right.
significance on that in
And what-
relation to Christ.
Preaching of Christ, maybe. Christ was with them for 3.5 years. You know?
Yeah, the time of his life, 3.5 years of his life.
Okay.
It couldn't have been the 3.5 days in the grave.
No.
Right.
My
And then he's put to death on, okay, well, on the fourth day, the animal's put to death, but Christ is risen after that. Okay, I see what you're saying. It's the 3.5 years you're thinking of, and that,
Yeah, that's
what
right.
it's- okay,
of
it
his
makes more sense that way.
Right, he
Does
was
make
with
more sense.
3.5 years and then he was killed,
Right,
right? And,
Mhm.
and I think that makes more sense to me anyway.
yeah, and it was at night too. They didn't kill the animal on, it was at night on that day. So, all right. Just a thought that, they have, it's in there for a reason. It's not just put in there to fill up the book. It has to be a reason for it. And there's another one that I'm reading this here. We read these, like I said, I blow through these
There's a
things.
hand up, Nick.
Okay, who's up? Oh, Joe. Okay, Joe.
The object in all of these things is found in the 11th chapter, verse 7, but the latter half,
Okay,
that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. That's the object of all the functions that occurred between Moses and Pharaoh, and between what occurred in the land of Egypt and in the land of the children of Israel, Goshen. That the people all would know the difference, that there's a difference between an Egyptian and an Israelite.
okay. So now I'm going to throw another one at you. When you read, like I said, when you read through this here, if you read it on the surface, it just goes, okay, verse 5. The lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year, and ye shall take it from the sheep or the goats. And I never paid attention to it. It was like, okay, they had a choice of what to do. But what's the story of the sheeps and goats? Why could they take it from both? And yet when we go to the New Testament on it, we find out the goats are not chosen. It's the sheep that are chosen. But here they could take it from the sheep and the goats, the young.
The indication from those Strongs is that it's a she goat. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Yeah, I saw that, and I couldn't. It still didn't fall in for me as a fill in for that. Where is it? Let's see. You look at Matthew 25, 31 and 32. That talks about the judgments. Who's got it? Matthew 25 verses 31 and 32. You got it, Sam?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When the Son of Man shall come in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall he be gathered all nations, and he shall separate one from another, as a shepherd divided his sheep from the goats. And the next verse, really, right? And he shall set the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left.
Yeah, it makes a distinction. So I'm trying to think here, like, why did he say take it from either one?
In Leviticus 16, you can take either a sheep or a goat for the offering. Leviticus 16 is about the Day of Atonement. And verse 5, it says, take 2 kids of the goats and offer them for an atonement. So goats are also allowed for and one was the scapegoat.
Right.
So either one could be used for sacrifice.
Take it in lands.
Okay,
Of course, we always lean toward the sheep because it's a type of Christ, and the goat, of course, is as you're saying in the judgment, the sheep and the goats. But the goats were used in the sacrifices.
yeah, I understand at that, but then I try to relate it to what we just read and that's at the judgment. And the only this was my thought. At this time, when they sacrificed these animals and they chose the sheep or the goat, the normal thought was, oh, take what was available to you, because maybe everybody didn't have it. But I don't think that's the point of it. I think the point of it was that all those people that sacrificed that night and went with Moses on, there were goats amongst them, besides sheep. You understand what I'm saying? There was ones that would become the troublemakers that didn't.
There was faithful.
They weren't faithful.
Yeah.
They weren't faithful. So I don't know what the unfaithful ones went out and got goats. It's just that.
You know one thing. You know one thing
Go ahead,
too.
Joe. Okay, let Joe go and then John.
There's a slight difference in character between a sheep and a goat. A sheep is mild manner, and regardless of what you do to it, even if you put a knife through its throat, will hardly make a sound. But a goat, it's a different story. They're more hard-hearted, and they fight you, and they're resistant. But they both cost about the same amount of money, and they both give milk for the production of man. So the two animals do represent a believer who is willing to yield to Christ and a believer who is resistant to Christ. So in that aspect of the character, perhaps that's why the goat was permissible in the sacrifice, because like Peter was shown in a vision, kill and eat, and it was all kinds of unclean beasts in the veil that came down from heaven. So there will be a time where, even though in character some animals are resistant to Christ, they all will be acceptable in the millennial age.
Okay. So, yeah, John, you had something to say.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about our nature, the nature, we have a sin nature in us. Well, Jesus had the sin nature in him too. So what was represented by Jesus was also, that was destroyed on the cross, was that serpent, right? That serpent nature was put to death on that cross, which represents the goat. You understand? Even though he didn't sin, but he still had that nature that had to be taken down and put on the cross. So I'm thinking that's why either one was good, because he had what God wanted in that lamb, in that sheep. Okay, that's what he was, totally like that. But he also had that nature, okay, that had to be put down. And so this we understand, as Christians, we know that part of Jesus that had to be put down, and that was put to death. And that snake that was on the cross, on that pole, and Moses had it, was a snake that was a dead snake. I remember Brother Winfrey doing an article in the Advocate, how you picture it like a serpent ready to strike, but no, he said it was a dead serpent on a pole. That's what it was. In other words, it was destroyed. The sin power was destroyed. So I'm thinking that both of them fit the bill, sheep and goat.
I'm just trying to point out things like when we read this here, you kind of brush over it, and there's other meanings to it. And that was the whole start of this here for me, with things that I would read through this and not think the second thing of it. You take the surface level saying, oh, sheep or goat, okay. But there's always other meanings to it for us to consider. All right. Then we look down at this verse here. We all know this, verse 7, and they shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door of the houses wherein they shall eat. Now, why the two side posts and the upper the upper part too. You had to hit all three.
Can't miss it.
That's the only sign of the Trinity in the whole old scripture.
I have nothing to do with the Trinity.
You can't miss it. The angel of death couldn't miss it, you know? Completely blocked off.
Okay. So, well, we know what it stood for. You had to have the posts of the door done because it was the blood that had to be shed so that the angel of death would pass by it. And the thought came to me, why? I mean, why couldn't it just been the top part done, symbolizing the door?
Full
Why did it-
entrance. Full entrance.
Okay.
It's the
full
whole entrance.
It's the whole entrance going through that door. And we
It
had verses.
represents the whole thing.
Why is
Yeah.
two sides in the front?
Okay.
It's significant, the number 3.
It's significant for 3.
Well, it was 3 strokes.
Okay. Well, one thought I had that you don't hear, I kept trying to look up to see if it had any reference to which I couldn't find. You know, when the Romans crucified, I was going to look up to see, but I know the Romans crucified hundreds in a day. Didn't matter how many. I mean, they had the roads lined with people. But with Christ, there were 2, one on each side of him. And I thought, well, maybe that symbolized the doorposts, the 2 that were on the side of him. I don't know. And he was the upper mantle of it. That I don't know.
The word posts is mezuzah, just like the Jews put the mezuzah on the side posts of their doors in almost every room in the Jewish person's house.
Yeah, they always kiss as they go into
Blessing, yes, like a
yeah,
blessing.
blessing for it. All right, so it was what else was interesting about it when I was looking it up? You know that people, the Jews did for a while, that a lot of them would paint their doors, their mantles around with red paint.
Oh,
so that they were Jewish. But also even in the United States, in America, in the olden times, a horse and buggy thing, people painted their front door red. And I go, okay. And it made me think of my father-in-law. Remember, if you buy his house, he had a red door. And I go, one day I said to him, wait, your house is pink and it's red does not go with that front door, And he got mad at me. He goes, when you're in your house, you paint your door your color. My house, I'll paint it my color. But what they had, and I go, I wonder if he ever read that and didn't want to say it. In the horse and buggy days, they painted red doors, and people that would be traveling, if they saw a red door in a house, they knew they would be welcomed there. They could spend the night and they can have food.
No.
And, and it all started with this red. So it's just a thought about it because it mentions,
That's all it is.
Yeah.
You can come visit me anytime. I don't care what color my door is.
All right. But okay, it symbolizes, like I think what Mark said, again, you got to go back to where Christ says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the only door. There's no other way to come in. That was the blood represented Christ shedding his blood.
That's good.
For that doorway.
I concur.
So
I concur. Hey, Nick. Nick?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's funny though that wasn't there a time when you could if one of our sisters wore a red dress or a guy wore a red tie, it was significant of sin. Huh? And they'd be reprimanded to get changed.
Well, that's what the blood got rid of. Sin.
Mark,
I know.
Mark, that was your father with one of the girls wore a red dress and sent her home to change because it's a symbol of the scarlet beast.
It's flashy.
I'm not
Yeah.
even gonna comment
I'm
about
laughing
that.
because you know, I think a lot of men have to do with that. It's just like saying a red light district, you know, it actually represents sin in a way. You look at it that way. And
Devil.
blood covers sin. The blood was what covers sin.
Father didn't like it.
So I don't know about, you know, the tie and the dress if someone wore it to meeting. I mean,
Well, they did. They said it was significant of sin. It was a symbol of sin. Rhoda used to wear red dresses, then she stopped because she realized it's not proper.
hey, Ro, you better speak up, Ro. False rumors here.
I'll keep silent on that one.
All right. Okay, Joe.
Red is also a symbol of the blood of Christ.
Right.
Totally the opposite. Forgiveness, inclusion, unity with Christ. So there's only so far you can go with the color red, because it may symbolize, you know, many things, but I think a true believer would be more interested. Look, the entire tabernacle was filled with scarlet, gold, blue, and that kind of material. So scarlet, red,
Right.
all symbolism of Christ.
Exactly.
So can we say this of Christ?
Right.
You know?
Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, that's Psalm 119:33. Thou teach me, O Lord, the way of thy statutes, and I shall keep it unto the end. So if you look at your Bible, verse 33, there's a little symbol that looks like a door, looks like a doorway. It stands for the word he in Hebrew. So, you know, it's like a door. He's the door. You know, I don't know. Something like
That you see. Go ahead, Dan, quick.
So Phil brings up an interesting point, because Jesus is the door, right? You have to go straight through the door. He tells us, don't veer to the left or the right. So maybe that's why the doorpost on the left or right, to keep you in the straight and narrow. And what's the thing, Mark? What is it called across the top of the door? What's that thing called?
Lintel.
Lintel, yeah,
Isn't it called a header?
a header? Yeah.
Yeah, today.
Christ is the head. Try to find some significance in it. It's just a matter of, you know, guesswork.
Well, it has a symbol to us because the Jews would continually do that. And I don't think God did it just for it. It was a reference to later on that they can refer back. The lamb was slaughtered and his blood is covering you.
Revelation also uses the door as Jesus is going to come and knock at the door. And if you open the door, so it represents the entrance into a man, into a person. I really think we're trying to squeeze blood out of a rock here. But to me, the door represents what you let into your house. It's almost like your eyes let into your heart, what lets into your heart. The door is what opens and lets what's into your soul, what's into the person. And that representative of the blood is like a representative of him pouring that blood, protecting the house, whosever house it was, with the blood of Christ.
Yeah, it's
I wouldn't
definitely
make any
that.
more of it than that, but
It's definitely that, because the angel of death didn't go there. They passed it by. They were protected by the blood of Christ, which is great. Because any of them that would do it, that's what would occur. Okay. Looking down in 12, 12. There's other stuff we could pick out of, but let's go to there. 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. That's why we've been looking at the 10 plagues with 10 different gods to their greatest god, which was Ra and Pharaoh at the end. You know, it kept building up. It was, and so did the plagues build up on them too. It started off easy, and it also showed us that if someone don't want to be corrected, it doesn't matter what you do. Pharaoh did not want to be corrected, even though it was costing him everything. Even though God hardened his heart, that's how he was. He was that type of man, and that's why he was in that position. He was put there just for that, so God can show his glory. Because here we are, thousands of years later, we're talking about something that occurred back then that God emphasized, and they established their law of the Passover to remind the Jews year after year, you have to do this. Now, when does that stop, or does it? When does this, for them to remember that they came from Egypt? Is there a time that the Jews don't look back and say, remember you came from Egypt? Is it replaced by something else? Remember you came from.
Yeah.
Does it ring a bell to anybody?
Yep.
Because it does say it. It says it later, and it doesn't say it in the New Testament. I'll see if Joe can pull it up, but I have it here when he's ready.
I have to look for it. You picked
Okay.
it up, but it's there. Yeah, you're right.
It's in Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Jeremiah 16.
16?
16.
33. Okay.
Yeah, 14 to 21. And I never thought about it myself. And we probably read this many times and just not. But when you're looking at the Passover, which was for them to always remember, and whoever has it can read it. Jeremiah 16, 14 to 21. You got it, Phil?
Yes, yep.
Go ahead.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters. They shall hunt them from every mountain, from every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks. For mine eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face. There is their iniquity hid from mine eyes. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled mine inheritance with carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. The Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Shall a man make gods unto himself, and there are no gods? Therefore, behold, I will this once cause them to know. I will cause them to know mine hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is the Lord.
Okay. So it will change. They won't be thanking God that, hey, remember when we came out from there? And this is what's going on right now in the world. This is happening right in our timetable. I mean, a few years back, I was watching when someone claims to be Jewish in the world and they want to go to Israel. Israel will help you get there, but you got to prove that you're Jewish. And they go into and look at people. The one that got me was they looked at this tribe in Africa, and if you saw them, the way they dress and the way they look like cannibals. I mean, they sent guys in, and they took them like a year or two to get all the documentation down. They followed the laws of Moses. They were Jewish.
Yeah.
And they were bringing them to Israel. And it was like, wow. I mean, so it shows you whatever depths is, God knows where they all are in the world. You know, to us, it sounds, oh, how can he do, how can you do that? Not to God. He can do it very easily. And so that's what they'll be saying in the future.
Mm.
That, not looking back to Egypt, we're looking there. Go ahead, Mark.
You know, I always wondered about this, and some of like Johnny wrote it. I always wondered what it would have been like if I had learned the gospel from outside. You know, I was never contesting with Catholicism or Protestantism. I was born and bred, as was the ones I'm seeing on the screen.
Right.
We never had a change, and I always wonder if there was some aspect of not. I say this in all respect, maybe not appreciating, because it was handed to us. I never fought to become a Christadelphian or to understand the gospel. I never fought. I never left another faith, another sect, I was born and bred in it. And although I'm not going to say I don't appreciate what it is, I always have wondered,
How you would have
would
fared.
it have been different if I had come out from Egypt, from the real Egypt,
Right. Well, you don't have to look far. You can look at, the ones that came before us.
I'd like to hear
Yeah. Who do you want to hear? You want to hear?
No, I'm just saying, my grandparents, my father, my parents' generation, many of them had to fight out of Egypt.
Right.
We didn't. I didn't.
So we're blessed.
And I just always wondered if.
So we're
I know that, but I don't know if I appreciate it enough.
Well, I you know what? When I sat down with my father, and I in his 80s, and I let him give me a lot of history and so forth, and I talked to him, it amazed me that he got it, understood the truth. It really amazed me. The guy could barely read. He could barely read. And I know a lot of it they did in Italian. They had they had I remember he had books. In fact, it was one was from Peter Robato had given them, and it was all in Italian from Brother Garidi. So I know a lot of them didn't pick it out of the words themselves. They were taught it. But it amazed me that he understood the truth. And he told me, he said, before he even came to the Christadelphians, he was looking. He didn't believe in Catholicism, and he went to a couple of other churches, Protestant churches, and his opinion was, same teachings, no pope and no priests. And that's what he understood. And when he accepted it, that he didn't let go of it. And I think a lot of them didn't. They actually fought to stay in it. They had to fight with that. We didn't grow up in an ethnic community where everybody that and your relatives are all that faith, and you're the outsider. They had to really fight for it to stay into that, and they were ostracized for it. The people. I mean, from family, they were ostracized.
I found coming in from the outside and different religions and whatnot, you always lived in the world, even in the other, everybody, nothing changed. You weren't anymore, your life didn't change. It didn't really mean a real lot to you. Where I found now, in the truth, that my life has changed. Things around me have changed. People that I'm associated with in the truth, you see a difference in them. It's not always about the world stuff. Where all the other religions, you talk to people, it's all about the world stuff. You don't have God intervening in that. You don't have those discussions, those godly discussions and things like that. That's what I found coming from outside in.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot, you hear a lot of the stories of people that came from the outside and how they came in. I mean, the things that you would never think that would bring somebody in. I mean, it was a guy a guy had a Christadelphian pamphlet, lost it on a bus. The guy that picked it up and started reading it came in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's God's guidance. That's what all you can say. God is the one that's calling. I mean, we could preach all you want to somebody. That doesn't mean they're coming in. God's going to call them. They're coming in. And we're blessed. I feel, like you said, we're very blessed that, we had, I think of that too, Mark. I thought, suppose my father never looked into it. Where would I have gone out and found it? I don't know. But one thing I do know is once I've gotten it, I've talked to, at my place of business, they say, don't talk of politics and religion. Well, I didn't talk politics, but I did talk religion. If someone had a Bible in their car, I asked them what they believed, because I wanted to see what they believed. And after a while, I began to know that they didn't even know what they believed, most of them. I didn't say that to them, but sometimes I would have to fill in what they were trying to tell me. Because you talk to enough people, you begin to realize what they believe. But, we're blessed. We are very blessed. Go ahead, John.
Nick, when thinking on that, when you talk to people in the world, when you want to talk about political events with them, you want to talk about the political events that are going to take place. What's going to happen to Russia coming down, the things that we believe. So that we do talk politics sometimes, but it's all in the vein of the truth, right? That's what we're trying to show. We're trying to show them what's going to happen. Of course, we got to warn them. We can't just say there and just let it go,
Oh, no.
So
no, I agree. Yes. Yeah, that's our job. Mm-hmm.
So we see the politics, what's going on, it's a mess, right? But the politics we're interested in is the things that, like what happened with Israel. Everybody was, how's that possible? They got together with the Arabs again, But then when you read the Bible, you start to see, well, that was fitting, that the king of the south would be those nations that are aligned in that time. But we still don't know how it's going to end up. But it's interesting to talk about these things. It's just that you can't get their ear all the time. You just can't get it.
All right, I'm going to stop you there because we're over time and pick up next week. Let's have someone close with a prayer. Sam, close with a prayer.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy great and most holy name. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to look into thy word and scriptures, the story of Moses and the events that happened in the book of Exodus. We thank you for opening our eyes to the truth, and let's not take this for granted. We realize that all things come from thy bountiful hand, and we understand that your plan and purpose with this earth, we ever await for thy soon coming kingdom to be established on this earth. Let us be shining lights. Let us not hide our light under bushels, but let's be beacons of light to the world around us and ever wait for your son's return to set up the kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. And we ask that day be soon, Father, and we ask this through your son's name, Jesus Christ, our high priest and king. Amen.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
We'll pick it up next week. Hey, Joe, what's up?
Nick, how many weeks will you be teaching?
But I just wanted to go past maybe 2 or 3 weeks. That's it.
2 or
We're
3
not going to do
weeks? 3
Yeah,
weeks?
probably. I'm thinking that. I'm thinking it's somewhere, middle of March around there.
Okay.
Depends how much we cover. So it'll be
Okay.
around either the middle or end of March, which should be done with, well, as far as I want to go. Right now, all we covered was, the plagues and so forth. We haven't dealt anything. We're not going to go through all the journeys of the Israelites, but through this whole thing, it's been silent about them until we know after. So we'll look at things that Moses had to deal with. And that's one thing we've been looking at his life. And now God has brought him to that point from being very insecure to the opposite. And now now he's going to have to handle the people. God does it like it says, you know, it never gives you more than you can handle. And that's what he did with Moses. One thing at a time. All right, guys.
Hi, Rhoda.
Hello. Everybody
John
doing
Thomas.
okay?
Yep.
Grace will be here soon, I think. Look at the way things are going.
I
Right,
don't
Joe?
know. I don't know.
Well, we gotta hope it that way.
We'll
Waiting for
see.
waiting for the big move. We'll see when it happens. Hope we're around.
Oh, that's what he said. Okay. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Right.
Good night. March, we didn't
All
get
right.
your verse, March. We're gonna hit it next week, right off the bat. Okay?
Important.
That's important. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye, bro. Take care of yourself.
Bye.